Everyone feared Max, the dog that could kill. He'd attacked 3 trainers, left 1 hospitalized. They called him dangerous, unpredictable, beyond saving. Locked inside a billionaire's private canine estate, Max was more myth than pet. No one dared go near him until Maya showed up. She was just 12. Homeless, hungry, lost. She didn't know who Max was. She only saw a dog, alone like her. And somehow, Max saw her too. He didn't growl. He didn't bite. He simply stepped forward and sat beside her. From that moment, everything changed. How could a girl no one cared about tame the dog everyone feared? But this wasn't a fairy tale. Because someone was coming for Maya, and secrets buried deep in that estate were about to surface. Now Max had one chance to protect the only person who ever believed in him. And if he failed, he'd lose her forever. Max was no ordinary dog. Tall, muscular, and with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He carried himself with a presence that made people step back. But behind that imposing look was a life carved by pain and misunderstanding. Max had once been part of an elite K9 unit, trained to protect, track, and serve. But after a failed mission that cost his handler's life, Max was labeled dangerous and unpredictable. He was retired early, sent away to a private estate owned by Mr. Whitmore, a mysterious billionaire who collected what the world rejected. Mr. Whitmore didn't believe in throwing lives away. His estate became a sanctuary for misunderstood animals. But even among others, Max was distant. He avoided eye contact, growled at visitors, and never wagged his tail. The staff called him the Ghost, a name he earned by silently appearing and disappearing in the misty woods that surrounded the estate. Then came Maya. She was only 12, but had a presence stronger than most adults. She was soft-spoken but firm, curious but not reckless. Maya was Mr. Whitmore's granddaughter, visiting for the summer while her mother recovered from surgery overseas. She had never seen a dog like Max, so powerful, yet so clearly hurting. From their first meeting, something clicked. Max didn't growl. He didn't walk away. He just stared, as if trying to understand her. Maya began spending hours by the fence where Max was usually seen. She would read books aloud, throw a ball nearby, never at him, and leave a small piece of meat just beyond reach. Days passed with no change, but she didn't give up. One afternoon, as she sat reading quietly, Max took a step forward, then another. Finally, he lay down a few feet from her, ears alert. That moment changed everything. The staff watched in disbelief. Max, who didn't trust anyone, was drawn to a child. Slowly, Maya was allowed inside the fenced area, under strict supervision, of course. But Max didn't show aggression. He watched her with something new in his eyes, recognition, maybe even hope. They became inseparable. Wherever Maya went, Max followed. He became her silent shadow, always watching, always ready. Mr. Whitmore noticed a change. Max was healing little by little. Maya didn't know it yet, but she had unlocked something buried deep inside Max, a memory of loyalty, of companionship, of love. But peace never lasts forever. One day, as dark clouds rolled in and thunder echoed in the distance, trouble began to stir beyond the estate gates. A group of bikers had been spotted nearby, loud, rowdy, and known for causing trouble. The local authorities were stretched thin due to a nearby wildfire, and Whitmore's estate sat on the edge of town, vulnerable. Max sensed it first. He stood at attention, nose to the wind, muscles tense. Maya noticed and felt a chill run down her spine. Something was coming, and Max was ready to face it. The storm hadn't even arrived yet, but the tension in the air was heavier than the clouds above. Max stood unmoving, ears perked, body coiled like a spring. Maya followed his gaze toward the estate's long dirt road that led to the front gates. Nothing yet, just wind and falling leaves. But Max's instincts were rarely wrong. Moments later, the distant hum of engines broke the silence. Then came the growling roars of motorbikes, at least 5 of them, maybe more. Maya's heart began to pound. She backed up slowly, her fingers tightening around the leash she didn't even need anymore. Max was already in guard mode. Mr. Whitmore appeared at the porch with binoculars in hand. His face darkened. "Uninvited guests," he muttered. He called for the estate security team, but only 2 guards were on site. The rest were assisting local authorities at the wildfire line. The bikers pulled up the gate, kicking up dust and revving their engines loudly. They weren't here for a social visit. These men were known around the area. Petty criminals, scavengers, and worse. Their leader, a scar-faced brute named Deke, shouted toward the intercom. "We know what you got in there, Whitmore. Fancy animals, rare breeds, worth a fortune. Let's make this easy. Open the gate." Mr. Whitmore didn't respond. He turned to Maya. "Go inside. Stay with Max." But Max had already moved in front of her, teeth slightly bared, tail stiff like a rod. Maya didn't want to go. She stood her ground behind Max, feeling oddly safe in his presence. The bikers grew restless. When the gate didn't open, Deke took out a bolt cutter. "Your choice, old man," he barked. With a loud clang, the chain snapped. The gates creaked open, and the group began rolling into the estate. Security guards shouted warnings, holding up tasers and batons. But they were outnumbered, and these bikers didn't scare easy. That's when Max sprang into action. With no leash, no command, and no hesitation, Max bolted toward the intruders like a missile. His bark exploded through the air, deep and ferocious. The bikers froze for a second. Then chaos erupted. Deke tried to pull a chain from his belt, but Max was too fast. He lunged, knocking the man off his bike with a heavy thud. Tires squealed. One of the others tried to hit Max with a metal pipe, but the dog ducked and bit down on his arm, dragging him into the dirt. Screams followed. Maya watched, heart racing. This wasn't the same withdrawn Max she had met weeks ago. This was a hero inside him awakened, sharp, focused, unstoppable. He didn't attack to kill, only to stop, to protect. It was precise. It was trained. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. Within minutes, the bikers were either down or running. Max chased 2 of them until they dropped their weapons and sped off into the woods. Then, as suddenly as he had started, Max stopped. He returned to Maya's side, panting, bleeding slightly, but standing proud. He had protected her, protected them all. The estate had never felt this quiet. Not after what just happened. The bikers had been driven off, the gates resecured, and the authorities informed. But the aftermath hung in the air like the scent of gunpowder. Maya sat beside Max on the front porch, gently cleaning a small cut on his shoulder with a warm cloth. He didn't flinch. He didn't even seem to notice the pain. His eyes were locked on something beyond the horizon, as if still on guard. "You saved us," Maya whispered, brushing his thick fur. Mr. Whitmore walked over, holding 2 mugs of warm tea. He handed one to Maya and looked down at Max. "That dog has secrets," he said quietly. "I think it's time you learn them." They moved inside, settling in the grand study lined with old books and photos. Mr. Whitmore reached for a dusty album and pulled out a photo. It showed a younger Max, standing beside a soldier, both proud and alert. "Max wasn't bred for luxury," he began. "He was trained by a military K-9 program overseas, a special branch. Silent operations, bomb detection, threat neutralization, the best of the best." Maya looked at Max in awe. "Then why is he here?" Mr. Whitmore took a breath. "His handler, Captain Ross, was one of my oldest friends. They served together for years. But during their final mission, something went wrong. An ambush. Ross didn't make it. Max stayed by his side, refusing to leave his body until help arrived. They said he almost starved waiting." Maya covered her mouth, overwhelmed. "That's why he doesn't let anyone near him." Mr. Whitmore nodded. "He was broken. They retired him early and brought him home. Ross had no family, so I took Max in, but he shut down, refused food, hid from people. It was like he lost his reason to exist." Maya looked down at Max, now resting peacefully beside her. He needed a friend, someone to trust again. "You gave him that," Mr. Whitmore said softly. "You brought him back." A long pause followed. The wind rattled the windows as rain finally began to fall outside. Maya realized now why she had connected with Max. She, too, had lost someone. Her father, a firefighter, had died saving people in a building collapse. She had felt just as broken, just as lost, that silent bond between them. It hadn't been random. The next morning, news spread fast. The local sheriff stopped by, praising Max for his heroism. The story of the brave, scar-faced German shepherd who took on a biker gang made headlines. But Maya wasn't interested in the attention. She just wanted to be by Max's side. Mr. Whitmore called a meeting. He wanted to increase security, call in more staff, and cancel all public tours for the season. But Maya had another idea. "Let Max decide," she said. "He's earned that much." The old man smiled. "You might be right." But none of them could predict what Max would do next. The next few days passed in strange silence. The estate had gone from a place of isolation to one under careful watch. Cameras were installed. Security guards walked the grounds. And for once, Mr. Whitmore's mansion didn't feel forgotten. But amidst all the movement, Max became unusually quiet. He didn't run to greet Maya in the mornings. He didn't bark at squirrels or patrol the fence like before. Instead, he would sit in the garden, looking at the gate, still silent, waiting. Maya tried everything. New toys, treats, even long walks through the trails. But something in Max had changed. Not in a bad way. In a purposeful way. It was the morning of the third day when Maya noticed his leash was missing. She ran to the front door. It was slightly ajar. Her heart dropped. "Max!" She raced across the lawn, calling out. Nothing. The guards said they hadn't seen him leave. Cameras showed nothing unusual. It was as if Max had simply vanished. Mr. Whitmore didn't panic. He looked down at the empty porch and said quietly, "He's not gone. He's on a mission." "A mission?" Maya asked, stunned. "He's a trained K-9, Whitmore explained. "He doesn't just protect. He completes objectives." When you told him to decide for himself, I think he took that literally. The thought haunted Maya for hours. Why would Max leave now, after everything they'd been through? Had she said something wrong? Had she triggered a memory from his past? But deep down she knew Max had been watching that gate since the attack. He hadn't just been guarding it. He'd been thinking, studying, maybe even sensing something Maya and the others couldn't. That evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, a car pulled into the estate. A woman stepped out, wearing a military uniform. She looked tired, her face marked by sun and sadness. "I'm looking for Max," she said. "I heard he was here." Maya's breath caught. He left this morning." The woman introduced herself. Lieutenant Clara Jensen. She had served with Max and Captain Ross. "I've been searching for him for months," she explained. "I didn't even know he survived." Mr. Whitmore stepped forward. "How did you know he was here?" "I didn't," she replied. "But someone left a tracking tag at my door last night. A collar. His old one." Maya's eyes widened. "You're saying Max found you?" Clara nodded slowly. That dog never forgets a mission. Or a face. They all stood in silence. Max had left, not to abandon them, but to reconnect with a piece of his past. Perhaps to heal something even deeper than anyone realized. "He'll be back," Clara said, "when he's ready." And somehow Maya believed her. But as days turned to weeks and no sign of Max appeared, a quiet ache grew inside her. She checked the gate each morning, hoping to see him bounding back across the grass. Still nothing, until one rainy night, when a security camera caught a single figure near the woods, just watching, not coming home, just watching. The days felt longer without Max. Maya had gotten used to the quiet, but it wasn't the kind of peace that brought comfort. It was a void. She couldn't shake the feeling that something important was missing, and the uncertainty was suffocating. Weeks passed, and life around the estate continued. But for Maya, everything seemed to stall. The guards at the cameras were still showing a figure in the distance at times, always moving like Max was still out there, patrolling, protecting, waiting. But it was the night of the storm that things changed. Maya had just finished dinner when she heard a knock on the door. It was late, too late for a visitor. She opened it cautiously, her heart racing. Standing there, drenched from the rain, was Clara Jensen. But this time, Clara wasn't alone. Max, Maya gasped, "Max!" The dog, now scarred and tired, stood quietly beside Clara. He was no longer the confident protector he had once been. There were signs of marks on his body, a few injuries that hadn't healed fully. But his eyes, those eyes that had once held so much intelligence and strength, were filled with recognition and something more. "Is he all right?" Maya asked, her voice shaking. "He's been through a lot," Clara replied. "But he's here because he needs to be." Max slowly walked toward Maya, his tail wagging slowly but purposefully. He sat in front of her, his gaze unwavering, like he was waiting for her to say something, for her to acknowledge something that had been left unsaid. Maya crouched down, her hand trembling as she reached out to touch his fur. He nuzzled her gently, as if apologizing for the long silence between them. The bond they had shared was never truly broken. It was just dormant, waiting for the right moment to return. Clara watched the scene with a quiet smile. Max has always been loyal. He left to find someone from his past, but in the end, he realized where he truly belonged. The realization hit Maya like a wave. Max hadn't left because he didn't want to be with her. He had left because he needed to find closure, to finish a mission from his past. And now he was home, not because he was ordered to be, but because he chose to return to the place that truly mattered. Her. "I'm sorry, Max," Maya whispered. "I should have known better. You never really left me, did you?" Max licked her hand, the way he always did when he was trying to comfort her. This time, however, it felt different. It felt like a promise. "Come on," Clara said, stepping back. "I think it's time to let him rest. He's earned it." Maya nodded, standing up and following Clara as they led Max into the living room. She helped the dog onto his favorite spot on the rug by the fire, where he'd always curled up for naps. As the rain continued to fall outside, the house felt warmer, more like home than it had in weeks. Max, the loyal protector, was back where he belonged, and Maya knew that this strange, uncertain chapter, was finally coming to a close. Max wasn't just a dog. He was family. And family, no matter the distance, the separation, or the challenges, always finds its way back to each other.